I can't believe I'm finally doing this. The Viberg Marine Field Shoe on the 310 last. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Dale of Dale's Leatherworks. In today's long overdue video, in fact 8 years overdue, I'm going to be reviewing the incredible Viberg 310 last on an incredible build, the Marine Field Shoe. So credit where credit is due, I became low-key obsessed with the concept of the Marine Field Shoe. I've talked about it before on this channel. I've even talked about this particular pair before on this channel, but I just never had them before. Because Vibergs are expensive and I don't always get around to buying them. But talking to my buddy Phil Callis at Ashland Leather a couple years ago when we did our boot talk, he talked to me about the concept of the Marine Field Shoe, and I was just utterly captivated, so I started researching it and got obsessed, and I scored a pair of Oakstreet Marine Field Shoes. This is the very well reconstructed original boondocker and or trench boot design. Both of these are going to be, yes, I know about Oakstreet, we don't need to get into all that. The key characteristic of the Marine Field Shoe was, if I have the lore correct, it was born out of soldiers who were deployed to the desert were having problems with their boots, their service boots in particular, because it was a smooth out leather. And so they requested that the leather be turned inside out so that the smooth is on the inside, the rough out's on the outside. When the rough out was on the inside, sand would get in the boot, make it very uncomfortable, and the sand would get ingrained within the nap of the rough out on the inside of the boot, making it very difficult to get the sand out. So by flipping it, by turning the rough out inside out, you're just able to take the boot at the end of the day and dump the sand out. All the sand comes out because the sand isn't likely to get stuck in the smooth out of the interior of the boot. So I always thought that was really cool. Anything that has to do with war and soldiers and how these garments evolve, especially in the field, I find fascinating. I love that stuff. I'm a nerd for all that stuff. That led me to scoring these Oakstreets. This is the Oakstreet trench boot and or marine field shoe. They go by a few names, also called the Boondocker. The Boondocker is best known for being a plain toe design, but in the Horweens Chrome XL Roughout on the upper. So a little bit about how I got these boots. My buddy Christian, who I met at both Stitch Down boot camps, he's a super cool kid. He's sent me several Vibergs and John Lofgren's to review. He's on a quest of getting the perfect 10 boot rotation, and I commend that. If I could narrow my collection just down to 10, that would be amazing. He wants to keep it pragmatic, practical, while retaining a sense of sanity. I'm obviously beyond the pale in that regard. My sanity has long since departed. I can't pick a boot to wear every morning. It's impossible. Yeah. Anyways, so I've always wanted a Viberg 310. So he had these and he sent these to me to review, and these were in my size, a size 8. I'm a 9 Brannick. I'm an 8.5 in most US boot brands. And I always knew that if I was going to try the 310, I was going to go for the 8s because it is the most voluminous Viberg last. I had some size 8.5 Viberg service boots in brown and oxblood Chrome XL that I have since moved on. I reacquired them in my correct size, which is a size 8. My buddy Dave at the Vintage Future, he always talked up the Viberg 310 last, and he went through several iterations of it as well. He talked it up, and for years I've always wanted it, but I just never saw it on a makeup that I really wanted. In fact, you know, oftentimes when they release the 310, it's just kind of like sort of a boring-ish leather, usually a plain toe. When Christian sent me these and I looked at them and I'm like, these are absolutely incredible in person. And so I said, hey man, he told me he wanted to sell these. I said, how much do you want for them? I'm just gonna buy them. So I bought them off my buddy Christian, and I'm very happy with them. I've worn them twice so far, put a good 40,000 steps on them so far, and they're holding up tremendously. The only thing about the patina is I am pigeon-toed, and as you can see, I have some of the black from the Vibram outsole striking the inside of the toe here, leaving some scuffs. So, but that's cool. That's patina. That's what we love and live for. One of the coolest things about this last in particular is that bump toe. It is an aggressively, not just bumped toe, but it's also curvaceous. They curve it in such a way to make the stride-wise much easier. Where have I heard that word stride-wise before? But it makes the stride much easier because you just roll. It just rolls. It's not like a standard flat service boot, well, mostly flat outsole, flat like the earth. This sole is curved down here, unlike the earth. And what's really cool to me about the look of it in particular is it looks like one of those old-timey wooden Dutch shoe. I'll put a picture of that on the screen. I've always seen those and always been captivated by those, and I've just never known, like, what's the deal with that. And Viberg very much pays homage to their footwear design is very much inspired by Western European foot shapes and heritage. I have heritage from that region, and so that's why Viberg boots, Truman boots, Alden boots, they're all designed for, you know, a wider troll foot like mine, and so that's why they just fit so dang well. Fit on these, yes, it is voluminous, but I wore them with medium weight socks. I think I wore them with thinner socks too. No complaints, as long as your heel to ball is lined up perfectly. Even though there is a lot more volume in these, that does not mean that I still need to use a big sock. I was using regular size socks. So let's talk about the design a little bit. One of the coolest things about these is this is the first Viberg that I've seen with a logger heel. That's really awesome. I've never seen them do that before. We got a triple stack veg tan in the heel stack, followed by the Vibram rubber heel cap. We've got a rubber Vibram outsole, which to me is the only thing I'd change. It's my only complaint about these is the outsole is just a little boring. I would have preferred like a Dr. sole or a cork outsole like on these Oakstreets. I really like the cork outsole on those. I think these would have been better with a different outsole, but I'm not looking at the outsole through the day. I'm looking down at the uppers. The shape is just incredible. It looks really good with selvage denim. I am just going to wear the living crap out of these, and I'm going to try to patina the living hell out of them. So we've got the amazing updated double row stitch down construction. Very high SPI on that. Yeah, it's 270 degree welted. Incredible rawhides. I really like that they did the contrast on the tongue. They have the smooth side of the natural Chrome XL facing outward, and they have the rough out on the inside of the tongue. On the inside it says Viberg, made in Canada. Oh, these are made in Canada? Screw that. No, just kidding. Canada's got its problems, not gonna lie. But Viberg, they're one of the good ones. So we got Viberg, made in Canada. says SB310 for the Service Boot 310. 8E. All Vibergs are built standard on an E width. And then it says 5B10 491. Got a Viberg tab on the inside, Viberg veg tan heel seat in there. Same thing on the right boot. It came with some Viberg boot bags, Viberg branded boot bags. Spare set of cotton wax, flat wax cotton laces. Beautiful, but I mean, come on. Am I really gonna the rawhides for these? I think not. And then this little Viberg pamphlet that talks about stitch down construction, what makes it good, and it gives care tips that I won't be needing because I'm not a noob, okay? I'm no longer a boot noob. I believe these came from a website called Withered Fig. Withered Fig always has had really good Viberg makeups. So on Withered Fig, they actually sell 4 different models. They sell 4 different models. They sell this one, the service boot, the Marine Field shoe in the 310, retailing at $1,060. That might be Canadian dollars though. They've got the Boondocker Marine Field shoe on the 1035 last. They've got the Boondocker boot on the 2040 last. And they have the N1 Marine Field shoe on the 2040 last. And each one, the N1, the standard Marine Boondocker, they're all just going to be slight variations of one another. It looks like the closest one to these Oakstreet Boondockers is probably going to be Marine Field shoe Boondocker on the 1035 last. That one looks like it is most closely resembling this pair here. Yeah, the other 3, they're all plain toes. They'll look great. So it says the 310 N1 field shoe in Viberg's 310 last, inspired from the original U.S. Navy N1 field shoes during the latter years of World War II. These have been contemporized for a modern-day take on this vintage boot. Using Viberg's service boot pattern, 310 N1 field shoe uses one of Viberg's most generous lasts, with a roomy fit throughout the whole footbed. The 310 has a sprung toe box for a vintage aesthetic and a natural rocking motion as you step. This 310 N1 field shoe is built on Viberg's service boot pattern and sits on top of a Vibram 430 sole and heel for a natural work-approved sole. Please note that this pair of the Viberg service boot pattern and N1 field shoe nomenclature is just for historical reference. Viberg does not have a pattern called the N1 field shoe. Take one size down from Brannock. Yes, I agree. Or take your other service boots, 310 service boots, on the 2030 or 1035 last. The 310 is one of Viberg's more roomy lasts, so most should take one down from your Brannock, but if you are familiar with your Viberg service boot sizing and other lasts and only take a half down, then you should consider taking the same size here. You could consider. So this is Viberg for Withered Fig exclusive. It's the part of the N1 field shoe collection. Viberg service boot pattern, Marine Field shoe leather from Horween USA, which is Natural Chrome XL Roughout. We have 7 dark coffee eyelets, a structured toe, a natural midsole, stitched down construction, includes Viberg dust bags made in Victoria, BC, Canada. And the sizes are fully stocked right now. Their 1035 Boondocker boot is mostly sold out. There's only a 12 remaining. The 2040 has a good range of sizes remaining, and the other 2040 has a good range of sizes remaining, and that one has a Dr. Sole corded outsole, which I would have preferred on these 310. On the Viberg website, they sell that same N1 Marine Field shoe on the 2040 last, and that has the raw corded outsole. So that's basically the Grail Boondocker right there. I will leave a link to that down below. If you click that link and make a purchase, which again, all sizes are fully stocked, I will get a teeny tiny commission, but that helps support the channel and helps me making these videos if you like them. I don't even know if you like them, but if you like them and I leave a link, and if you use that link, I greatly appreciate it, ladies and gentlemen. I'll also leave a link to Withered Fig, though I don't have an affiliate link for them, so don't shop there. Just kidding, shop there. And since we're on the topic of other shops that sell other really cool makeups, I wanted to throw out a recent collab that Viberg did with Haven. This is a shop I had not heard of, but part of their Fall/Winter 2025 collection includes an exclusive service boot and officer derby makeup. Both models use waxy commander suede from Charles F. Stead in all blacked out leather, set on the Vibram 1276 Sierra outsoles. I will also get a commission if you click my link and shop there, but I think these are some really attractive models, and if you need an all murdered out black pair of Vibergs, then I think this is just an outstanding luxury option. These boondockers were developed for the Pacific Theater battlefield. The U.S. Navy N1 Field Shoe is a battle-tested service boot with a rich, lasting history. This N1 Field Shoe collection is a modern-day reinterpretation of the iconic pair. Redcast Heritage also sells the 2040 N1 Marine Field Shoe. I will also leave a link to that. They've got it in most sizes remaining, and those are for 1,063. I believe that's Canadian dollars. Redcast Heritage is a really cool website. I just heard about them, but they have a lot of good Viberg makeups. So once again, if you shop there, I might get a teeny tiny commission. Please and thank you. And then Brooklyn Clothing also sells the N1 Marine Field Shoe in natural Roughout. Also on the 2040 last. I did cover most of these models in my Oakstreet review, so you can check out the Oakstreet one. I go much more into the history of the Marine Field Shoe in that video. I don't want to draw this one super far out though, but I do kind of want to talk a little bit more about the 310 last, because I believe it is very much inspired by the wooden Dutch shoes, which are called clompen in Dutch. Clompen. Why do all Germanic words sound so funny? They're a national symbol of the Netherlands. They are a type of wooden clog that has been worn since medieval times and were traditionally used for practical protective purposes by farmers, fishermen, and factory workers. Well, imagine how comfortable those must. The word for the wooden shoe is klomp, singular, and klompen for plural. They wore these wooden shoes for protection and practicality in harsh, muddy, and wet environments, as they were sturdy, inexpensive, and water resistant, making them ideal for labor and difficult terrain, especially for working class people who couldn't afford leather footwear. The shoes also protected against injuries from falling objects and sharp objects. Their durability made them a cost-effective choice for farmers. Apparently, the wooden shoes are surprisingly comfortable to wear, and they remain popular to this day. I've never seen anybody wearing one, so I can't speak to that. Yeah, you can buy these on Etsy, it looks like. People still make them. That's fascinating behavior. Yeah, they're not that expensive. I see they're 40, 50 euros. I might have to get some of those, try them out for the channel, for science. So much like leather, wood insulates very well, which is definitely true. It's also going to be very moisture wicking. I say this all the time. Leather and wood, they are analogous to one another. They have similar grain structures. They're very much, in a molecular sense, they rhyme in a lot of ways. It's interesting, you know, they have similar moisture wicking properties. You know, think about when you spill water on a table, on an open grain wood table, it doesn't take very long for it to dry up. Wood insulates well, so they can keep your feet warm in the winter, but during hot summer days, you have the opposite effect. The insulating effect of the wooden shoes keep your feet nice and cool. And this is one of the reasons why I advocate for leather outsoles all the time, is because on a hot day, the moisture from your foot will wick out from the bottom of the leather sole. This is just my theory, at least. It's never been scientifically proven. But I noticed that when I wear leather-soled shoes in a hot climate, I feel just much more balanced in a temperature sense. I feel that I'm much cooler, whereas a rubber outsole, it's very stuffy. A leather outsole helps your body to better thermoregulate itself in the heat. So yeah, I could see a wooden sole with wool socks absolutely keeping you warm. They're perfect safety shoes. When there's sharp objects on the ground, clogs are perfect. They're ideal as slippers for around the house. When they wear out, you can give them a second life by using them as a planter. So the Viberg 310 last was developed for utility and function. The 310 last shares the Munson last toe bump combined with a vintage climbing boot last with a heavily sprung toe, creating a unique aesthetic while giving you comfort to walk for long periods of time. In closing, I will say that absolutely, these boots almost walk for me when I'm walking outside. I do a lot of walking. It's where I do all my video editing, and I've said it before, but I'm ashamed that it took me so long to adopt walking as a daily practice. But it is truly the best fat burning exercise, and if you're going to do that, then you might as well get yourself the best possible tool to perform that action in. And for me, that's going to be something like a service boot, a very well constructed service boot like these Viberg 310s. These do stride very well. I almost forget that I'm walking when I have these on. And an honorable mention here, these are my 2040 Viberg service boots in brown oiled shinky horsehide, one of the coolest patinas that I have going right now. As you can see, the inside has worn out, and so has some of the outside. Let's get a little bit of last comparison here. So that's the 2040 versus the 310. I love both the lasts. The toe is significantly raised on the 310, as you can see here. And I was asked by my friend Jen at Weaver Crafted, you know, if there was one pair of boots that you would absolutely never move out of your collection, this was the pair that came to mind. This is absolutely, this is a grail pair for me. It just checks every box that I want in a boot. In fact, I should do an updated my top 10 boots of all time video, because of course my opinion has shifted. The more boots you get, the more time you have to think and to center yourself, the more you start to realize, like, oh, these are absolutely incredible. So anyways, thanks so much for watching, guys. I want to hear all your thoughts down in the comments below. Let me know what you think about the Viberg 310. Is it your favorite last? It's quickly becoming mine, but I can get why certain guys don't gravitate towards it, because it is just kind of aggressive looking from the profile. But when you have them on, I just can't stop looking down at them. They're seriously beautiful. So anyways, thanks so much for watching, guys. End of transmission.